Anybody here for the first time? Welcome. So I thought I'll do something which is quite useful for all of us, especially if we're here for the first time, which is to explain a little bit about what we just sang, because sometimes it feels a bit kind of strange to sing something in a foreign language and not know what it means. So that's what it's going to be about today. So I just came all the way from Bristol, and there's one of the main yoga teachers there, and we were discussing about a lot of this philosophy, about mantra, about meditation, the soul, inner peace, all of these valuable topics. I'm also a yoga teacher. So does anyone practice yoga here? Quite a few, like half of you. So within the yoga world, a lot of the essence has been lost, unfortunately. So we were discussing about that, and it's something which I think is a common theme around the world, which is that we're, as one great philosopher says, we're distracted by distraction from distraction. So the modern life is a little bit like that. We're so busy, it's very difficult to focus on anything. We have so many things at our fingertips. We have so many types of technology, so much types of media. We have so many types of cars, ways of traveling, etc., that it's very easy to get distracted from the thing we're supposed to be focusing on. And that is actually the essence of why we do mantra, why we chant these spiritual sound vibrations, is to recalibrate, to refocus our mind. Because as they say, as one of my great teachers used to say, if you focus on the inferior, then you get an inferior result. And if you focus on the superior, you get a superior result. But the question is that nobody's asking, what is that superior thing? So therefore, when we do not have the best option to pick, we generally will have to choose a lesser option. But of course, time being so limited, we really want to study what is that superior thing in order to actually make use of our time and to be able to focus on it to get that superior result. So this is the title of today's talk, Mysteries of the Maha Mantra. The word Maha, it means great. So it's actually cognate with magna or mag, like magnifying glass or magna carta. So the word Maha in Sanskrit means something which is very great. And mantra, we actually talked about, was it last Sunday or the Sunday before?
Sunday before.
Yeah, two Sundays ago I was here, and we talked about why do you chant mantra? What is mantra? So mantra is very short, because I already did it 2 weeks ago, so you have to see the video wherever it is. And but very short, mantra, manas in Sanskrit means mind, like in Latin they say mens, and the manas doesn't just mean our mental faculty, but actually it has a broader definition. And then tra means to transport or transmit. In other words, to bring our mind from a lower state to a higher state of consciousness. Because as they say in the Bhagavad Gita, our mind can either be our best friend or our worst enemy, depending on how we train it. So has anyone felt like that before? So many of the great mistakes we've done in our life is just because we didn't have control of our mind, or we didn't know how to guide our mind properly. So mantra is very important because it's teaching us how, by sound, vibration and meditation, to elevate our consciousness so that we can actually be attracted to something superior rather than attracted to something inferior. So we can continue on if you like to press there. So I thought this is a very unique question. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people ask this question, that why just focus on one mantra? We go to Glastonbury with my friend Niall here. We've been a couple of times. Anyone been to Glastonbury? Oh, quite a few of you. Actually, no, not many. But I was just in Bristol. A lot of people from Bristol go to Glastonbury. So in Glastonbury, they often ask us, why do you just chant the Hare Hare all day? Once a guy came up to me and said, so who is this Harry guy? Where's Harry? I want to meet him. Another time we were in Glastonbury, and someone was asking, what does Hare Krishna mean? And I said, Krishna means the all attractive. But because it was very noisy, the person thought I said, you're attractive. And she said, oh, yeah, you're attractive too, yeah. But Krishna means the all attractive. So sometimes people wonder, why do you chant these foreign words? And why do you just repeat the same song over and over again? Does anyone, can anyone like to volunteer what is one of their favorite songs? Anyone like to say? Viva la vida, or any suggestions? Favorite songs? Nobody, yeah?
Rocket Man.
Huh? There you go, we got one. Anyone else? What's one of your favorite songs?
Could You Be Loved, Bob Marley.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah. Could you be loved? So when you listen to your favorite song, you can listen to it maybe 5 times, right? Maybe 10 times in the same day. But the one thing I found is that if you like music a lot, a specific song a lot, there gets to a point where it just gets too much and you just don't want to hear it for a long time. Has anyone felt that before? So it seems kind of counterintuitive that why do you just chant one mantra? Surely it gets very boring. But I've personally been chanting we chant other mantras too, but we focus on one. But this specific one, for a couple hours a day since about 13 years. And even before that, when I was a kid, very regularly. But I never got bored. Actually, it becomes more and more sweet. It becomes more and more relishable. And you actually learn more things by the process of chanting. So for me, it's actually a very dynamic thing. So this is the point that actually there's 2 types of energies in this world, according to the Vedic ontology, the Vedic study of things that exist in their fundamental states. So one is the material energy, which is also called inferior energy. So inferior energy is very problematic because in the beginning it's very nice, it's very sweet, at least if it's in a good state, like a nice new car or a nice new iPhone. It can be very useful, it functions very well, it cooperates with you, but very, very quickly, whether it be a day or a few days or a year or 2, it starts to uncooperate. It starts to actually become a disturbance. It starts to become a source of dissatisfaction. So that's the nature of the limited. That's the nature of the inferior energy. Superior energy means spiritual energy. So spiritual energy is something which is completely different. It's actually sometimes called antimatter. So matter is controlled by different laws. Just like one of the laws is the law of deterioration. Does anyone remember what law that is? That things break down. That's called entropy. Anyone heard of that? So spiritual energy is actually the opposite. So it actually is considered to be dynamic by nature, whereas matter is considered to be static by nature. So mantra is coming from that ontology, the ontology of spiritual energy. And therefore, although we are chanting one mantra, there's no variety. Within that mantra, there is variegatedness. Anyone familiar with that word? It's an older English word. So one usage of the word variegatedness is that variety means you have many things, you have many units, you have many individual things which exist. And variegatedness means within one unit you have variety. So in the same way, the spiritual energy, apparently you can do one thing and it looks like it's going to become boring because there's no variety. But within that one thing, there is a lot of variegatedness. And actually you find that also in this world sometimes. Just like you can, if you go to the University of London or SOAS or King's College, you may find somebody that just studies one small topic, like the life of ants, and he does his PhD on it for years. Just a very boring topic, right? But actually, even the material energy can be very interesting. So imagine the spiritual energy, how much more broad it is. So that is one of the reasons we chant, because actually mantra is dynamic, so therefore it doesn't have that staleness, it doesn't have that static energy which material energy has. And once somebody asked me this question when I was in South America, I just came from there a couple of weeks ago, and somebody says, why do you just focus on one mantra? There's so many mantras, There's one mantra you can do for health. Have you heard of Ayurveda, anyone? The ancient Indian health science? So many yogis do that, part of the yoga teacher training. You have mantras which are for different benefits. Some of them are material benefits, some of them are some type of spiritual benefit, some are for liberation or nirvana or mukti. And then this Hare Krishna mantra is considered to be a mantra about love, about bhakti. Bhakti means devotion or love. And not a static type of devotion, but an active type of devotion. In other words, devotional service. So when you actually chant the Hare Krishna mantra, you're actually focusing on love. So I said, just like when you love someone, you focus on one person, but it's not supposed to be boring because that person is dynamic, they're alive, there's always something new. One day they're happy, one day they're sad. One day they're in a good mood, one day they're not, right? So spiritual sound vibration, although it's considered to be just one, if it's a mantra about love, love is unlimited. So we want to focus on cultivating that spiritual love. So therefore we're focused, one pointed focus on bhakti. So that's another reason why we chant this mantra. So once I had a friend, he was also in Glastonbury actually, his name was Rukmini. So somebody asked him this question and he said, just like the heartbeat is the core of your existence. Without your heart beating, you'll be finito. You may have a hand, you may not have a hand. Your liver may work good or you may need to get surgery. But if your heart doesn't beat, then it's game over, right? So actually the heart beating is the most important thing in your existence. But at the same time, it's just the same thing. Boom, 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 boom. But that heartbeat is what sustains you. So in the same way, one simple mantra, if you take it very seriously and you make it an active ingredient in your life, then that will sustain you on the spiritual platform. Just like your heartbeat, although it's apparently very monotonous, does anyone say, oh, my heartbeat is really boring, I would like a different type of heartbeat, or I'd like it to skip a beat once in a while? Does anyone think that? No, right? Because you know that that's the thing which is sustaining you. So if you like, we can go to the next slide. So I can break down what this mantra means. So there are 3 words in the mantra. The first word, what is it? You can see it on the board. Can anyone say? Shout out. Don't be shy, don't worry. I'm a nice guy, I promise. Can anyone shout out? What's the first word in the mantra?
Hare.
Hare. The second one, does anyone remember? It's probably written somewhere. Krishna, yeah. Don't be shy, guys, don't worry. And then Rama. That's the third word. So Hare has different ways of being understood, and the way we like to understand it in Bhakti Yoga is Hare means the divine feminine. So the divine feminine is part of the spiritual philosophy of the Vedas, which explain that there are 2 main components of reality. There are 2 main, in English there's an old word, moiety. A moiety means 2 parts which complete a whole. So although the spiritual reality is one, everything actually originally comes from one source, but there are 2 ways it manifests. One is called energy and one is called energetic. Some of you may know that word Shakti. Anyone heard of that word Shakti before? And Shaktiman. If you do yoga or if you're from an Indic background, you may know that word. So energy is defined in the Vedic philosophy as that potential in a cause which can bring about an effect. That's the definition of energy or Shakti. And Shaktiman means the source of energy. So there's a very nice analogy which is explained in the Vedas, that just as you have a fire or you have the sun on the fire, the sun is in one place. So the sun is considered to be like the energetic source, the powerhouse. But at the same time, the sun is present everywhere outside of just the planet of the sun, right? In the form of its light and heat. So that is considered Shakti or energy. So the meaning of Hare is that Hare is considered to be Shakti. And Shakti is taken as feminine. So the feminine form of the divine. Generally we think that the spiritual reality or the divine or God is a man, is an old man in the sky throwing thunder and punishing people, punishing 90% of his creation forever. Very scary, right? But actually there's a kind of skewed understanding, distorted understanding. But actually the divine, what we call in Sanskrit Bhagavan, is both masculine and feminine. So the feminine side, that is called Hare. And Hare literally comes from the Sanskrit Hara, which means to take away. Does anyone speak Spanish? Anybody? Nice. So how do you say pull in Spanish?
How do you say what?
pull. Like pull something. Koher means to catch, right? Similar, but there's another word I'm thinking of. With a J. With a kha sound. Tengo que jalar algo, ¿verdad? Sí. So in Sanskrit that is called hala or hara. There's one word is haladhara, and some of you may have heard of it. So R and L is the same type of sound actually in the part of the mouth. So in historical linguistics they're interchangeable. So actually in Spanish also you find that same word to pull, just like in Sanskrit you find hara or hala. So you find jalar, right, in Spanish. So what does it mean to take away? Generally we're very scared of people that take away things, right? Just like we may have a nice phone and we're walking down Oxford Street. It's very common, unfortunately. It's one of the new pandemics in the UK. And a very naughty guy comes on an electric bike, and sometimes they have a guy behind them, and they grab your phone and then they go really fast and run away, right? So generally taking away is something which is very sad, right? It's something which creates a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. But actually taking away is very good, because they say that it's impossible to become self-realized, it's impossible to know who you are unless you take away all the things that you are not. And we're so attached to many things that we're not. I am this body, I am a man, I am a woman, or one of the other 29 genders. I don't know how many there are in England. In Canada, 31. So there are many options, right, which you can identify as. And then I'm British. I was just in Bristol. We were discussing with some friends because they're having a new West of England kind of mayor, I guess. And people are wondering, who should we vote for? The Green Party, Labour, this one, that one. So sometimes people get very uptight about who they're voting for. And if people don't vote for the same one, they become very standoffish, right? Has anyone felt that before? It's more in America, I found. In England, people are a bit more chill. So, but the nature of this world is that we identify with many labels which we are not. There is a very famous saying which one of my friends says. He says that people have an idea of who they are, and sometimes they say, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think that you think I am. So we have such a complex web in our mind of so many identifications. I am this career, I am this color, I have this tendency, I am this particular acronym of a type of psychology. Has anyone done any of those psychology courses? There's like 4 different letters, right? So there are many ways which you can identify in this world. But Hare means that person, that divine feminine, Srimati Radharani, who comes to take away all of the false attachments and false identifications we have, so the light of our soul can shine through. So we can continue to the next one. So this is a very beautiful word, Krishna. Does anyone know what Krishna means? The definition is not literally there. It kind of is, but not. Anyone want to say? Have you ever heard from your friends or from the internet? So it comes from 2 parts. The word Krish comes from the concept of karshati or attraction. And also traction. Just like in English you have attraction and traction. Just like traction, if you have a tractor and it has to be able to pull, it has to have a specific amount of grip in order to do its work. So attraction means pulling towards. So in Sanskrit, Krish means attraction, and Karshati Krishi means traction. So attraction, and Na means Nand. Nand means bliss. So bliss is distinct from other words. In Sanskrit, there are many words for happiness. One type of happiness is the happiness you derive through your senses. That's called tripti or priti. Another type of happiness is called sukham. So you have different words. Some for sensorial happiness, happiness which is derived from the senses. Just like you can have a nice ice cream, and even if you're in a bad mood, the ice cream will give you some pleasure, right? Because your tongue will feel very satisfied. But sometimes you're in such a bad mood, even if you eat ice cream, you don't even notice it. You're just like chomping it down and you're like in a rush, right? So there is a distinction between mental happiness and happiness of the senses. And then you have another type of happiness in Sanskrit that's called ahlada. Ahlada means happiness of the intellect. It's like you may read a very wonderful book and you might feel very inspired, you might feel a lot of happiness by reading it, which is an intellectual type of happiness. But the happiness which is beyond all of those platforms, the coverings of the self, the senses, the mind, the intellect, etc., is what is called ananda. The na in Krishna is connected to the word ananda, which means bliss. So bliss is a type of transcendental happiness, transcendental pleasure. So that is what Krishna means. One who attracts us and gives us bliss. Generally in this world, most of the things that attract us, they leave us shortchanged, they leave us dissatisfied. You may see a beautiful person walking down the street, and then you try to speak to them and they say, F off. And then you feel a lot of suffering, right? Or you might think, oh, I'm going to go to Thorpe Park. And then you get there, and then, oh, there's an emergency and they had to close down the park. So the nature of this world is, we're attracted to things, but in the end, we always become shortchanged. But the specific nature of Krishna, and why it's so important to chant this name Krishna is a name for Bhagavan, which means one who actually attracts you, and then instead of shortchanging you, the gift is happiness and bliss. And Krishna is considered to be, as you can see in this picture, not just a theoretical concept, not just some notion of an unmoved mover from some theoretical philosopher in the east part of Europe, in the east hot part of Europe, nor is it some kind of vague idea like a universe. This is the universe. The universe told me to do this. But Krishna is actually personified. Krishna is a personification of the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is considered to be personal, a person. So in this Vedic philosophy, they understand that Krishna is so attractive. Why? Because he comes in the form of a very young, beautiful boy. And you can see the picture there. And you can see Vraja cowherd boy. So this is the form in which Krishna appeared in this world 5,000 years ago. And it's also explained that why is Krishna so attractive and why does he provide so much bliss? Because there's a difference in theology, there is a difference in concepts of divinity. One is that there is an emphasis on fear, there is an emphasis on punishment, there is an emphasis on the justice. And another side is the emphasis of sweetness. So Krishna is that form which is emphasizing sweetness. When I was younger, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to be spiritual, I'm not sure if I believe in anything greater than myself. Just most of us, we think that, right? There's nothing greater than I. But when I heard about these descriptions, that actually God is not a concept, which is that you need to be very servile, very humble, and you need to be punished all the time, and you need to be scared, like we're often taught, but actually it's the supreme sweet personality. And everyone looks for sweetness in their life. Whether it's when you go to a restaurant, whether it's if you listen to some nice music, whether it's if you see some beautiful art. So this is the emphasis which Krishna gives, that Krishna is teaching love and sweetness, loving relationship and sweetness rather than fear and majesty. So as you see, he has no opulence like a great king or like a great ruler in this picture you can see. So just the final one. So Rama is also very important. And the name Rama comes from the Sanskrit root rum, which is not the Caribbean delicious beverage from the Caribbean. Hopefully if you take rum, it better be 0%. I'm sure. So the Sanskrit root rum means joy, but it's an active sense of joy. In other words, play. So divine play. Sometimes you may have heard the word lila. So divine play or pastimes. Pastimes mean activities you do with your complete independence, where you're not conditioned by anyone, you're not influenced by anyone, and you're not controlled by anyone, but you can do everything at your own free will. So this is a further emphasis that spiritual life, we need three things. We need Hare to help us remove all the negative things in our heart. We need Krishna. Once you've cleaned your heart, once you're free from lust, anger, greed, these 6 different enemies we have in our heart, once these things have been removed, what do you do next? They asked the Archbishop of Canterbury this, and he says, when I go to heaven, I'm going to serve God for 100 years. And after that, I'm going to enjoy and have a good time. So, because when you don't have a clear, what is called in philosophy, eschatology, when you don't have a clear understanding of what happens, where do you go, what are you supposed to do, then we try to speculate. But actually, This philosophy is teaching that there is an active relationship of loving service and divine play in the spiritual world, and that is actually the goal which is espoused in this tradition of Bhakti Yoga. So Rama is very important because it's teaching us the very important principle which is often overlooked or misunderstood by the modern spiritualists and New Age movement, that actually ultimate spirituality is not simply some light in the sky or some vague concept which you watch from an Instagram reel, but actually ultimate spirituality must include consciousness, because consciousness cannot be, the components of consciousness cannot be attributed to anything of this world, cannot be found in any forms of matter, structures of matter, it's not even explainable by neutrons, protons, electrons, nor neutrinos and bosons. It's much, much more subtle. And if the attributes cannot be explained sufficiently through the laws of material nature and matter, it must be of a different nature. So consciousness actually is the root of spirituality, and consciousness means personhood, free will, independence, choice, preference. So ultimately, the personification of all of these spiritual principles is what you find in Hare Krishna and Rama. So this is the ultimate point, that ultimate spirituality is actually a relationship with Bhagavan, not just a vague concept that I am very spiritual because I smile, or I am very spiritual because I behave well, or I do this or I do that. But it actually means to understand ultimate spiritual reality is underpinned by personhood. So thank you very much. This is the explanation of the Hare Krishna mantra. Are there any questions, comments, reflections? You at the back and then yourself. Yeah.
So why mantra at all? Why externalize?
Yes, very good question. I wish you were here 2 Sundays ago. I did a talk on that. I can give you the link, actually. I uploaded it to YouTube. But in a nutshell, what can you repeat? Why mantra? And then you said the second part of the question. Why externalize? Very good. So this is a very important point, because when we find modern tendencies to have what's called PTSD of spiritual things or religious things, it's generally often because people externally present themselves as spiritual, they externally do certain rituals, but they do not have the spirit behind it, right? So when you have a ritual, if the spirit is not there, it's not spiritual. I didn't make that up, by the way. That's some saying by some guy. But so the ritual is there to help us to internalize. But actually, the real manifestation of mantra is something which is called shabda. Shabda is a word for sound in Sanskrit, and there are 4 types of sound. And one type of sound is called paravak. It's sound which you cannot actually experience. It's spiritual sound. So we're doing the external motions in order to reawaken the spiritual experience. In the olden days, according to Vedic philosophy and history, people used to simply meditate inside, as you're suggesting. Why do you need to externalize it? But because in the modern age, we have what is explained, that we have a very short life, and we're very misfortunate, and we're very slow-minded. So therefore, we need external aids in order to help us to focus. So in this particular age, chanting of mantra externally is recommended. Formerly, it was done internally only. So does that help? It's just a short explanation. We can speak more about it also afterwards. Yourself? You had a question?
Thank you, firstly.
Thank you.
For a very interesting talk. And also, yeah, by personhood, do you just mean the human experience of being a person? Or is there more to the meaning of the word?
Wow.
As you used it.
Such a beautiful question, yes. Because sometimes we drop philosophy bombs, but there's not much time to go into everything, right? So I explained it very briefly, that you have independence, so a sense of independence. Structures of matter, mechanical things, AI, none of them actually have free will or independence. They're all pre-programmed. So if we take an ontology of scientism, then we do not actually have free will. Because free will, it cannot be explained by structures of matter. So I was watching a video by a guy called Alex O'Connor. Anybody know him? Or also Richard Dawkins talks about this, that there's free will is an illusion. And they actually give very, very logical reasons Why? And we actually don't disagree with most of them, because Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita that based on how we're born, what energies we're in, which are called modes or modalities, there are 3 of them, our independence is actually compromised in this world. Our free will is compromised, so we actually have very minute free will. But free will originally in the spiritual platform is one of the natures of the soul, and we have preference, and we have choice, and we have individuality. So this is what we mean by personhood. It's a bigger topic, and it's not that it's necessarily referring to a smelly body with grey hairs and a beer belly, like in the modern age, in the human body in the biological sense we experience here, but it's referring to a transcendental form as well. So it's a very big topic, but the personhood also includes form, name, form, qualities, activities, etc. Form means the mechanisms in which you interact with things that exist, whether it be other people or objects. So on the spiritual platform, according to Vedic philosophy, we also have form, because without form, there's no way of interacting, right? So that's in a nutshell. Thank you. Wonderful question as well. You're also welcome. We can discuss it more, either myself or some of the other people. Anything else? Maybe one more? My friend in the back, what was one thing you found interesting today?
I found many things interesting. I did have a point to mention.
Yeah.
So you're saying about the mantra, saying it and singing it and speaking it out loud.
Yeah.
Does that also sort of reflect on the fact that we're in the Kali Yuga?
Wow,
So
wonderful.
in that kalpa of time, in the Kali Yuga, we have to sort of change spiritual practices to sort of emphasize.
Fantastic, yes. So, has anyone studied Greek philosophy before? Like if you did philosophy and ethics for your A-levels or university or something? So, it's part of the British curriculum. So, in the Greek philosophy, they talk about 4 ages. Let's see if I can remember. It's like bronze, iron, silver, and gold or something. Does anyone remember? I think that's it. So, you find this notion around the world in many cultures. I was just in South America, in Colombia, the shamans, I don't know what you call that in English, shamans? Shamans. They talk also about different ages. So in the Vedic philosophy, just like in the Greek, there are 4 ages. Sometimes Greeks say 3, but generally they say 4. And Kali Yuga is the worst age. It's a bit like the seasons. You have spring, lots of beautiful flowers. Summer, everyone likes when it's a real summer. And then autumn. And then most people complain. The most times you hear, oh, I hate the weather today. You generally hear that in winter time, right? Because there's no light, nothing grows, food doesn't grow. You know, generally in the olden days, food was very austere in the winter time, because you just have preserved foods, or you have to kill some animals or something, or some grains which are getting stale. So Kali Yuga is the most difficult age. And because it's such a difficult age, Krishna being a person who is very sweet, not just somebody who is very nasty, who throws, as I mentioned earlier, 90% of his creation into hell forever. But he actually treats everyone nicely, gives everyone a good chance. And he says, okay, if you're disabled, it's not your fault, because it's Kali Yuga. So I'm going to help you, don't worry. So although actually we're in Kali Yuga because we chose to stay here this long in the material world, but still Krishna says, don't worry, it might be a hard age, just like the winter is a little bit tough. Imagine this, what's his name? Keir Starmer? What's the Prime Minister's name? Can't even remember. Just came from America. Everything's about Trump. So if Mr. Starmer says that everyone, although electricity is very expensive, or gas, depending on how you heat your home, in the winter time we're going to give everyone a discount on gas because you have to heat up your home more. That would be a really nice thing to do, no? Be very kind and considerate. So when the times are tough, then there should be more kindness, there should be more mercy. Things should be easier. There should be less austerity, right? So in Kali Yuga, the process is so simple that simply by chanting mantra, even with musical instruments, as we're going to do, we've done and we're going to do, you get the same benefit as meditating on mantra that they did thousands, even according to the Vedic time, believe it or not, millions of years ago. Sounds very shocking, no? Millions of years. But actually, the concept of mantra is that there is internal sound and there is the external sound. So in this age, by performing the external sound, we're engaging the spiritual energy to also work on our tongue, to work on our ears, to work on our body. So it's actually bringing that spiritual energy, that vibration, to heal us and to actually bring us to spiritual consciousness much quicker. So yes, so thank you very much. I have a book, if some of you are interested, which is kind of about this topic. There is one part of it is about the mantra we talked about today, and many other mantras. This book was written from my yoga students in America. Many chant Om, they chant to Shiva, they chant to Durga, but they all have confused ideas about what they are. They read something on Wikipedia and then they ask me, is this what it is? And I'm like, where do you read that? So I wrote a book about the 10 most popular mantras which these yoga students and yoga teachers chant, and I give the philosophy according to the ancient tradition. So if anyone's interested to have a look, we can see at the end of the event at the book table. And there are many other amazing books as well. So from here, we're going to continue to the penultimate part of our event, which is we're going to sing Hare Krishna, believe it or not. Uh-oh. There we go. So this is called a harmonium. For those of you who are new, this is called a mridanga drum. It's a very ancient drum, hundreds of years old, invented in the east part of India. We also have jaja, or in English they call them wampus. These ones. It's not jaja like from Star Wars, but it's called jaja in Bengali. So please repeat after me. Hare Krishna. Everyone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. It feels much nicer to chant something once you've learnt about what it means. It becomes much more easy to meditate and absorb the mantra. Hare Rama. Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So I'm going to sing the full mantra now, 16 words, and then we'll repeat as a group. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram